Woof! That took some doing, but we're here at last. 1,000 subscribers. If I had €1 for every subscriber on my channel, I'd have like 990 more euros than I currently possess. Now, I would like to say that it was high quality videos and hard work that got me here, but never underestimate moaning on the internet and annoying other bigger channels until they let you on one of their shows so you can mercilessly plug your own stuff. And I'd like to thank you, my humble viewers, for not making your disappointment at my complete lack of talent ruthlessly clear in the comments. Right, that's enough self-deprecating waffle for one video. Let's move on. Welcome to my flat in the city where brutally ugly architecture finds its home, Berlin. So as this is a special video, I thought I'd try something different. I thought I'd show you some of my haunts, some sites of interest in the city, and also give you a list of 5 things that you should try outside of gaming. If you take my recommendations, you can be as well-rounded and as stable as me. On second thoughts, turn this video off now. Fundamentally, this is an awfully silly movie, but it's one hell of a ride. The entire film is shot from the viewpoint of the floating spirit of an American drug dealer killed in a raid at the eponymous Void nightclub in Tokyo. We follow this lost spirit as it vainly tries to prevent his sister falling into a spiral of drug addiction and abuse at the hands of various lowlives of the city. Really though, this is a retelling of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and deals with the never-ending circle of birth, death and reincarnation. It is utterly audacious in its storytelling and bends the medium of film to its bizarre will. There is so much that is unique here, nothing more than the sex scene filmed from inside the body. You get to the end and you realise that you've gone through a mind-bending, exhilarating and utterly absurd experience that was totally worth every confusing second. In a world drowned in endless superhero films, you should clean your palate by watching a film by an artist that sticks 2 fingers up to the rest of the world and just does what they want. And Gaspar Noé certainly does this in Enter the Void. This pretty little cafe in the Neukölln district of Berlin has been vital to 5G4D becoming what it is today. So many emails and show notes and essays and plans were written here. Until the pandemic started, this little place with the 3 CDs on constant repeat was the 5G4D office, and this show wouldn't have got off the ground without it. God, I miss it. I wonder how Tim Berners-Lee feels when he looks at the World Wide Web that he conceived and has seen it transformed into an arena where people endlessly argue over how many beans to have on a plate of egg and chips. It's loads, by the way. No matter though how many people may row over condiments and whether coriander tastes of soap, it doesn't. There can be no argument over Malzbier. There can be no argument that this is simply the greatest soft drink ever created. Malzbier is what you imagine beer to taste like when you're a child. Malty and sweet, it feels nourishing in a way a bottle of Pepsi Max never can. There is no acquisition needed in developing a taste for this. From your first sip, you know that you have found drinkable heaven. The ancient Egyptians used this both to block you up and help you go, so you know it's good. On top of that, there's no alcohol in it, so you can drink a load on a school night and only have diabetes to worry about in the morning. Prost! This is the former Berlin Tempelhof Airport, which is now a public park. I come here to run, to cycle, to read, and to get foggy-headed on syrupy summer nights. Developers who feel that they have to gobble up every available piece of public space and turn it into luxury flats have, so far, been kept at bay. And long may that last. I've never been a huge fan of sci-fi. You get put off these things after reading Dune, but China Miéville is one of the most engaging and disciplined writers I've ever read. Embassy Town is hard, futuristic science fiction. The story takes place on an ambassadorial planet at the edge of the universe in a society that is as far from the world we know today while still being able to have human protagonists. What makes this book unique, though, and one you should definitely give a go, is that this is an incredible work of linguistic science fiction. On the planet where the story takes place live extraterrestrials whose physical makeup and therefore method of communication and therefore conception of language is completely alien to our own. It asks so many interesting questions. What is language? Does our method of communication define who we are? Is there a central link between all living things, or are we all trapped in the ghettos of our own communication? For anyone who has even a passing interest in language, this book is a great read, but most importantly, China Miéville is not writing some dry treatise, but a novel that is intelligent, engaging and exciting. Linguistics class has never been so much fun. The area of Neukölln in Berlin is not renowned for its prepossessing beauty, but I remember one day cycling through its grubby streets, turning a corner and being smacked in the face by this beautiful square. The first thing that struck me is how different it seemed to its surroundings, and it wouldn't have seemed out of place in my former home, Vienna. You may not get a great idea of that on this grey late winter day, but in the summer this place smacks of Habsburgian charm and is a great place to sit on a bench and while away a few precious hours. Wien are simply fantastic and have developed into something of an obsession for me over the last few years. Wien are impossible to pin down as they mercilessly leap from genre to genre and always manage to straddle the lines between irony, scatological childishness and gut-punching sincerity. This is realised perfectly in their 2003 album Quebec. Not only does it contain the best songwriting they've ever committed to tape, but this is the greatest breakup album ever written. Its exploration of addiction, heartbreak and divorce as it turns paranoid and tender and excoriating and shot through with the kind of naked honesty that is the apotheosis of great art. The album culminates with the two best songs the band have ever written, The Argus and If You Could Save Yourself, You'd Save Us All, which is the best close to any album ever. Ween are constantly surprising, both dumb and whip-smart, grotesque and beautiful, hilarious and world-shattering, and it is encapsulated in the 55 minutes and 7 seconds of Quebec. This monument to the Soviet dead was built by the Germans after the Second World War as reparations to Russia, and it gives you an insight into how Stalinist architecture subdued the masses by its sheer scale. I first discovered this place in my first winter in Berlin. Imagine not knowing that this place existed and just stumbling on it when walking in the park in deep snow. The deep reds of its marble shining out. When I was prepping my Through the Ages video, I knew I had to shoot here, as I've never seen a work of architecture that evokes the concept of civilization as much as this. I said I was going to veer away from games for this video, but the only reason that this channel and my podcast has done anything is because of the support of other creatives in the board game space. So it would be highly negligent of me not to pay it forward in whatever little way I can. The first thing that can be said about Punchboard Paradise is that these guys love games. Their enthusiasm is clear from the first moment you listen. A good podcast is not just about the content, but the way that content is delivered and the personality of the people delivering it. And the Punchboarders have personality in spades. This is why they've developed such a loyal listener base. That doesn't mean that they're always right, though, as their views on Through the Ages can testify to. But Clef's terrible taste aside, they manage to communicate their love of games through the medium of audio, and their show is well worth listening to. They do focus on the heavier end of the spectrum, but manage to open doors to those kinds of games. I would never have dipped my toe into coin games if it hadn't been for these guys, and that's a good enough reason to be grateful right there. So there we are. To everyone who subscribed, thank you so much for allowing my endless words to pollute your timeline. I really hope that in the future I can produce stuff that is good enough to repay your faith in me. If you, by any crazy chance, want to help support this channel, you can by following the Patreon link below. Of course, if you can't afford that, liking this video and recommending this content will really help. So my next goal is 5,000 subs, and as I'm a creative vortex, let me know what kind of video you would like to see for that next special, whenever that happens. So, whatever your poison is, cheers. And I'll see you in the next video.
Folgt alle diesen Kanal, das ist der beste Kanal.
Einfach in die Kamera anschauen.
Folgt alle diesen Kanal, das ist der beste Kanal.
Gut gemacht.
Schafft ihr die 10.000 Abonnenten, beste Community.
Right on.